Only 2 weeks ago did I do the video telling you it's time to lower that nitrogen number and raise your potassium number on your fertilizer. People get intimidated by the 3 numbers on fertilizer. Don't. It's super easy. You've got your 3 numbers: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That's all it is. You start out the season early, giving it a lot of nitrogen. Nitrogen is just giving that plant everything it needs to grow all this awesome, leafy, green, vegetative growth that's going to act as solar panels later in the year and bring in all that sun's goodness and force it down into the onion bulbs. Same thing with peppers, same thing with tomatoes. So we're running a little bit higher on that first number through the first almost half of the year. Every plant's a little bit different. Onions, if you don't know, they go off of day length. Once you hit summer solstice, which was June 20th this year, the longest day of the year, that's like the gods up in the sky pulling the trigger and telling these plants to switch and start putting all their energy down into the bulbs. 2 weeks and take a look at this. No matter how many times I do this year after year, I'm still amazed that you can just switch the numbers on your fertilizer and then your onions go crazy. Look down here. Let's move that guy out of the way. That's getting to be fist size already in 2 weeks. If you go back and watch my last video, there was no bulbing happening 2 weeks ago. Now you're probably asking yourself, why am I showing this to you now if you missed it 2 weeks ago? It's because you're not too late. And most of the time, when I get the question on anything gardening about, am I too late? The answer is typically no. And what's the harm in giving it a try? No matter what it is, if you give it a try and it doesn't work, you got the experience of doing it, right? So it's not too late. What I did the weekend after June 20th, I came in here and I lowered its nitrogen, I raised its potassium number, I added Epsom salt and some CalMag to the fertilizer, and 2 times, it was the beginning of the weekend, Friday and Monday, the beginning and the end, I flushed this soil real heavy just to make sure it has enough calcium and magnesium in it, because the onion is going to require that for long-term storage. Now just standing here, and I've got a really bad smeller, just standing here, I can smell the onions radiating from this garden, and it is absolutely awesome. But like I said, you're not too late. The plant is going to do what the plant is going to do. Mother Nature is going to guide that plant. And if it doesn't have the nutrients it needs in the soil, that's when you're going to start seeing different signs of deficiencies. All we are caretakers. We're trying to make sure that that plant has everything it needs to grow as big and strong as possible and give us the most food that it can. So if you haven't done it yet, go out there and look. Most of the fertilizers I'm talking about are going to be called blooming fertilizers, things like that. You want the last number to be higher. You want to bring that. So if you were running, for instance, a 10, 10, 10 fertilizer, that means everything's in there at the same percentage. So now let's say 5, 10, 15. I'm just making this up. They all have different numbers, so I don't even know if there's a 5, 10, 15. It doesn't matter. Just trying to get my point across. Just go to a flowering fertilizer that brings that nitrogen down. It still needs a little bit, but it brings that down to where you just have a little bit of nitrogen in there. And now you've gone from having potassium to having potassium. And again, if you haven't had a soil test, you don't know if you're lacking in calcium and magnesium or sulfate, throw some Epsom salt in your water and give it a good flush just to make sure. It doesn't hurt. Stick with me to watch some more end of season videos and let's see how big these onions can get. I'm Steve, aka the Chili Prepper, and we'll see you on the next one.